Welcome back to the QAV Australia episode 836. We're recording this on Tuesday, the 9th of September, 2025. Tony Kynaston. What do you know, TK?
What do I know? I know we have a big show ready to go for people. Lots of questions this week. Yeah.
Well, I think there's only one question, but there's, I don't know, two. Some comments.
How was your Father's Day?
Oh, I beat Taylor at a game of chess, so that was good. Of course, he said, I wasn't paying attention, but, I'll take it. What about you?
Yeah, pretty quiet. Yeah, just had a nice day down here. A few gifts, which is lovely.
Lovely. I got a plant, which you can maybe see. Yeah, it's blurry, but Chrissy gave me a pot plant for my office, which is nice.
No, good.
Well, the big win for me over the weekend, though, Tony, was I coded successfully, finally, the audit checker. And as an extra bonus, I threw in a buyback checker just for you.
No, well done. Thank you.
My fourth attempt, I think, or fifth attempt over the course of a year to get the automated audit checker working. And I stumbled across a way to do it late, like I think Friday night or something like that. And I was like, oh, what? And then spent the weekend in my spare time when I wasn't at Kung Fu coding it. And by Sunday night, it was working. And it was a good feeling,
So take me through it. How do you find the annual report statements?
So I was having a crack at something, and I was in DuckDuckGo. You know DuckDuckGo? It's an alternate search engine to Google. And I was searching for a report for something. I can't remember what I was doing. And I found this ASX announcements website URL structure on the ASX that I'd never seen before. That has a list of all of the announcements, and the URL just finishes with the ticker code. It's like this long URL, and it has finishes with the ticker code of the stock. So you just replace the ticker code at the end, and you get the URL of all of their announcements, like you would in a Stock Doctor announcements page, but it's on the ASX. Yeah. So yeah, I wrote a script that could just pull up each stock's page, scrolled. I had to do some mucking around to figure out there's no standard terminology for what annual reports and half-yearly reports are called. Everyone calls them something slightly different. Not everyone, but there's an Appendix 4E, but there's like full-year statutory accounts, annual FY25 annual report, the 2025 annual report. There's a number of variations. So I put together a script that contains all of those sort of variations. It goes looking for one of those, and also the half-yearly reports if there's no annual report. And so then it downloads those. So then I ended up with a download folder of all of the annual and half-year reports from the last year for all of the companies that were in the Stock Doctor download. That's what I focused on. I gave my script a big list of 650 ticker codes and said, download the most recent annual or financial or half-year reports for all of these companies. Then once I had that was the first step. The second step was to write a script that could crawl through all of those reports, look for terminology for that, all the stuff that we did with Jamie a few years ago, all the different terminology. And basically, if it finds any of that terminology, it flags it. And if it doesn't find any of that terminology, it gives it a clean bill of health, unmodified. It also tells us whether it's an audit or a review, because sometimes it's not a full audit. But if it's a review and they don't flag it, it's still usually okay. And it just throws it into a spreadsheet, which then I can use my checklist to go and, just check anything that we don't have. So I've updated everything. So I only need to run it mostly twice a year after reporting season, but for some of those that report outside of reporting season, banks and retailers and whatever, I can run them a little bit later on, but it takes a couple of hours to run. downloads everything, crawls it, classifies it, sticks it in a spreadsheet, Bob's your uncle. And then I noticed when I was looking at this announcements page, it also has buyback announcements on there. So I wrote another version of the script that says,
thank you.
Flag all of the ones that have a buyback and give me the date of the most recent buyback announcements. So if you look in the buy list that I published yesterday, if you look at the member version, go to the hidden tabs, you'll see a hidden tab that says buybacks, and it has all of the stocks with buybacks. So if you want us to start adding that into the checklist, I can change my checklist scoring code just to give a score for a buyback and start adding that into the checklist. It should be relatively trivial from now on.
Yeah, right. Well, I think we should.
What kind of a score are we going to give buybacks?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? It's got to be at least one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll start with one. I might do some more research, and I've been thinking about that very question as well, and it's almost like I need to do a bit of work to say, here's stocks on the buy list from say 6 months ago or 12 months ago. Here's where they scored. Let's look at their performance. Was it always 100% success rate if, it became a 3-point trend line upturn, or if it, whatever, from when we scored it, and then maybe it's like a probability range, but that's a fair bit of work. So I think we just give buybacks one at this stage.
Okay. Well, I'll start coding that up when I get a chance, and I'll let you know when it's in place.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I'll put it in my buy list too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'll run that every week anyway, and I'll have an updated list of buybacks. But it was like, I tell you, man, it's a good feeling when you've been trying to nut out a problem like this. And the closest I can come to is when you've been eating lamb shanks and you get a little bit of lamb stuck in your teeth, and you're kind of working it out, and it takes kind of an hour sometimes. You don't want to get a toothpick because that would mean getting off the lounge. So you just sit there and you use your tongue, and eventually you get it out. That feeling of deep satisfaction. It's a bit like that. I know, because I made lamb shanks on the weekend too.
Okay. Yeah, good.
So that was exciting.
Sounds accurate. Yeah, well done.
Thank you. Goodhart's Law, Tony. I stumbled across this over the weekend too. Goodhart's Law. I thought, this sounds familiar. I've never heard you refer to it as Goodhart's Law, but you've basically, I thought it was Kynaston's Law. Goodhart's Law is an adage that has been stated as, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Named after British economist Charles Goodhart, who is credited with expressing the core idea of the adage in a 1975 article on monetary policy in the United Kingdom. Any observed statistical regularity will tend to collapse once pressure is placed upon it for control purposes. It was used to criticise the British Thatcher government for trying to conduct monetary policy on the basis of targets for broad and narrow money, but the law reflects a much more general phenomenon. As I've heard you talk about ROE and PE.
Yes, that was the very first thing that jumped into my mind when you sent through that link. Very much so. Yeah. People are going to gain the target.
Yeah.
As Charlie Munger said, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. I think the difficulty is that Peter Drucker, I think it was, also said you can't manage what you can't measure. So we do need measurements and targets. It's just they've got to be set really well and monitored for gaming and for other variances, or change regularly to try and stop it. Yeah.
At Microsoft, we used to say that which gets measured gets done. But
Yes.
it's a different thing, you have to measure things. You have to measure your metrics, your KPIs and all that kind of stuff. But if the markets are rewarding companies on certain metrics, then they will inevitably, in some cases, get gamed, particularly if performance bonuses and incentives are built around them.
And especially if the targets aren't well set. And the article you sent through gave a good example of, if you set a target for selling cars, someone will eventually sell cars at a loss to achieve the target, which is not the best outcome for the business, right? And not the intention.
Well, it's the paperclip paradigm with AI, the paperclip scenario that I'm sure you've heard about.
No.
Well, it's been around for decades, like in AI circles, well before the current AI paradigm. But the theory is you build a super intelligent AI and you give it the job of making paper clips. If it's told that's what it has to do, it will dismantle everything on the planet in order to make paper clips, right? So
Yeah.
you have to.
Which is a potential outcome for AI. I suspect it's going to be data centers and electricity generation or nuclear reactors rather than paper clips, but you can see a future where we have nuclear reactors on every corner to power the AI.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, who's not going to be able to afford to build nuclear power stations in every corner is Donald Trump.
Really? Didn't he make $2 billion last month or something from another coin issue?
Well, he personally might be able to afford it. I don't think his economy is. New York Times article, second week jobs report, week as in W-E-A-K, not W-E-E-K. Second week jobs report undercuts Trump's claims of a booming economy. After a bad employment report in August, President Trump fired the official in charge of the numbers. This month's data was just as disappointing.
Well, you'd hate to be the replacement then, wouldn't you? You wouldn't want to walk into the Oval Office and find plastic on the floor if you were heading up the government stats after.
With Christian Bale giving you a lecture on Huey Lewis and the News and why their 1985 album was a classic. Yeah, I mean, this article went on to talk about all the stuff that we've sort of joked about over the last couple of months. Analysts offered a variety of explanations for the slowdown. The president's tariffs on nearly all imports have driven up costs for companies and prices for consumers. Mr. Trump's immigration crackdown has made it harder for many businesses to find workers while simultaneously reducing the need for them because they now have fewer customers. The federal government has cut jobs directly and cancelled grants and contracts that have bled into the private sector. The uncertainty surrounding Mr. Trump's ever-shifting policies has made corporate executives more cautious about hiring and investing. But those explanations all ultimately boiled down to one key factor. Mr. Trump, who regained control of the White House on promises of faster growth and lower prices, has established policies that are having precisely the opposite effect. Inflation data due next week is expected to show that consumer prices rose more quickly in August as companies increasingly pass along the cost of higher tariffs. We've got a private sector that's caught in a pinch here between these higher cost pressures and reduced demand, said Gregory Darko. Not Tarko, that would be President Tarko, but this is Gregory Darko, not D-A-R-K-O, as in Donnie Darko, but D-A-C-O, chief economist for the consulting firm EY Parthenon. EY Parthenon? Really? Did they merge with the Parthenon? Both measures, whether it's inflation or employment, are moving in the wrong direction. They're moving toward a stagflationary environment. Explain to me again what stagflation is, Tony.
It's like countries like Zimbabwe experience where CPI goes through the roof. The economy goes backwards and inflation just goes into overdrive. So you get inflation of hundreds or thousands of %.
Because
basically, the economy's stuffed. It's going backwards.
Okay. That's
heavily.
the technical term. The economy's stuffed.
Yeah. Costs go up and growth goes down.
Right.
Quickly in both directions at the same time. Yeah, but of course, what tariffs, Cam? They've just been overturned by an appellate court, so there are no tariffs.
Well, not technically
US
yet.
Is winning.
He's still going to appeal that, taking that to the Supreme Court. I did see the other day that, I mean, they've raised hundreds of billions of dollars from tariffs already, and they're going to have to pay it all back. If the Supreme Court says, nah, sorry. Which is unlikely, but if they do that, he's got to pay hundreds of billions of dollars back, and then that's got to go back into the food chain. Everyone needs to reimburse everyone who's paid. By the way, you see that they've Australia Post has stopped shipping parcels of a certain size
below $100. Yeah,
was it Cettire? Did we decide that's how they were pronounced? Cettire.
Yes,
Cettire.
I don't know.
CTT. What's happened to their share price this week? I hasten to. I should just look at your pulled pork track record spreadsheet and That'll tell me. CTT. I think it had been factored in for a while, but
Yeah, we spoke about it when I did the pulled pork.
they're
But yeah,
killing
it's
it.
really
Their share price has jumped from 33 cents over the last couple of days to 45 cents. What? What? What's going on? How does that make any sense?
a lot of people have just gotten around to reading the pulled pork, hearing about the pulled pork on Cettire.
Cettire drops to full-year loss as revenue growth flatlines and director walks. Online fashion retailer Cettire has tumbled to a statutory net loss after tax of $2.6 million from a $10.5 million profit last year, as the company cited significant headwinds driving a slowdown in demand during the period. Company director Daniel Agostinelli has also departed the board after only being appointed in April to focus on his role as CEO of Accent Group. The numbers, however, analysts were expecting a worse loss of $38.7 million, according to Visible Alpha data. They were like, "Oh, it's great. They didn't lose as much money as we thought. Give those people a prize." Cettire shares jumped on Friday as analysts raised concerns over hikes to executive pay and the departure of a director after less than 6 months on the board. What they said in a note to clients, RBC analyst Wei Weng Chen said Cettire's top-line results were largely in line with expectations, but raised concerns that the company's working capital balance is continuing to unwind after cash on the books fell by $8 million. Anyway, Daniel Agostinelli is out after 4 months. Wow.
Yeah, he was on the board. He's the CEO of AX1, which has been on our buy list before as well, the shoe company.
Yes. Well, anyway, there you go. So your pulled pork track record's probably looking even better now, Tony. Like, you're killing
I
it.
think it was about 55 cents when I did the pulled pork, if I'm honest.
Okay. Damn it.
And I think,
Oh, well.
if I'm also honest, during the pulled pork, I said it had fallen below its buy price. I don't think it ever got back to that buy price.
Yeah, okay. So you get an out for that one.
Yeah, I get a card. Get out
Any
of jail
more
free card for that one.
So the US, so Australia Post has stopped shipments because of the
I don't know how
they call it.
I don't know how to collect the tariff or how it's going to be collected, so they can't charge the customer before they mail an amount because they don't know how it's going to be collected when it gets to the US. So, and Australia Post is just following suit with a lot of other countries around the world that have stopped doing it as well. Yeah, so you wonder what's going to happen to the US economy. What happens to Amazon? Companies like that?
Well, Amazon
would have been big users for small
would
parcels.
They? Well, but they're domestic, right? You imagine Amazon's being shipped domestically in the US, not coming in from overseas. But I imagine
there'd be a lot coming from China, I would have thought, and other countries.
Yeah, maybe, but it's anything over, I think, $800.
Under. De minimis was the law which said if a parcel was less than $800 US, it didn't attract customs and excise duty that applies to larger parcels.
Right.
Yeah.
So they've stopped shipping any parcels, is that right, regardless of the value?
No, Australia Post is still shipping parcels above $800 in value. And, I think the other problem would be is, no, I was going to say people would be falsifying what they put on as the value of the parcel, but it probably doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know if Australia Post is still posting to the US. The article I read said they just weren't posting small parcels to the US. The larger ones would have been attracting the excises anyway, so they would have known how to handle that.
Here's the notice on Australia Post website. Australia Post has temporarily suspended some postal services to the US and its overseas territories. They plan to resume postal sending on or before Thursday, the 25th of September, 2025. The USD $800 exemption for low-value goods has been removed for postal and commercial sending. Duties are to be collected prior to goods entering the US. What does this mean for you? Once postal services resume, you will need to set up a verified account with Zonos to ensure your shipments are accepted and minimize the risk of processing delays. Okay. Hope nobody orders Marketing the Messiah on USB, because I'm not gonna set up one of those. Anyway, there you go. So just fun and games with the US economy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm shocked and surprised that electing Donald Trump could lead to chaos, Tony. No, I don't think anyone saw that coming.
And this is the least of the chaos, I would have thought. Like, holding a cage fight in the White House is probably the best example I've seen of the chaos that's going on in the US. Turning the South Lawn into a pavilion to be able to hold concerts and things in it. It's just incredible.
And he was hawking Tesla cars in the front lawn.
Yes.
Back in the good old days of him and Elon.
And Elon's now being offered $1 trillion to focus on targets. Speaking of targets, to focus on Tesla's share price to reach targets.
$1 trillion in remuneration.
So you could actually say that being a part of the White House actually has worked out for Elon, because it
as we just spoke
him about, he'll be fairly familiar with Goodhart's law. I would have thought he'll be achieving his targets by hook or by crook,
or by Grok and Optimus robots.
Yeah, it'll be probably share splits or something to get the share price to where he needs it to be, or whatever. Share issues, share buybacks. Yeah.
Wow.
You'd take that, wouldn't you? Yeah, I'll focus on the share price. Now we're doing a buyback.
Does he need another $1 trillion though, really?
You never ask a billionaire if they need another $1 billion, Cam. Of course they do. They need more.
Yeah. I was talking to Sammartino before about...
He's got to pay for Father's Day. He's got how many kids? 30 kids
27 kids, yeah.
10 wives.
OPEC Plus agrees further oil output boost from October to regain market share. I don't imagine that's going to be a good thing for the oil price, Tony.
I wouldn't have thought so. The whole supply and demand law. Yep. So you expect the oil price to drop, which is what Trump wants. So I wonder if there's something else going on there between Saudi Arabia and Donald Trump. Could be a bit of quid pro quo. I don't know. But yeah, it probably will mean that the petrol price will drop. Another example of Donald Trump winning.
Just non-stop winning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all I've got on my news. Well, there are some things that Steve sent through. There's been a few please explain letters. Do you want to talk about the please explain letters?
Yeah, look, we've covered it a lot. There was two that Steve gave and one that you gave. The examples that Steve gave were Codan, the metal detector company, and James Hardie, the building materials company, and then you put out one for Rue Media, or included one for Rue Media. All three companies have received speeding tickets from the ASX, or please explain letters as to why the share price has moved materially. I think all three, the movements happened after annual reports came out. And you would expect that if management thought that the share price was going to move materially leading into August, they should have guided the market somehow. There's always, it's getting to the stage where it's actually fun to read these responses from the companies just to see how twisted they can get. I'm careful with what I say, so it's not actionable, but one of those three companies said, we were within guidance of 2%. Full disclosure, that was except for the large intangible write-down we took on the balance sheet, which was never announced to the market until the results came out. And I'm sure if they were pressed, they'd say, well, we didn't think about it until just before we announced. Another one of the companies said the board didn't come to a conclusion on guidance until half an hour before we issued the ASX announcement. So I'm thinking to myself, like, it isn't so until the board says it so. It's surely someone prepared the papers that went to the board that caused them to issue guidance that move the share price. So, it's becoming comical now what these companies do and what the ASX does. I did a bit of Googling after I saw this was an issue, and there have been cases where continuous guidance has been prosecuted by ASIC. So the ASX doesn't seem to do anything. So that's one criticism I have, is that they issue these notices to the company saying, please tell us why your share price is up or down by a large amount, and why, and have you been adhering to the Corporations Act, which says you must keep the market informed, and they come back with their answers. And that's the last we hear of it. There's never any announcement from the ASX challenging the company's response or saying, hey, this is not good enough, we're going to delist you for a while, or we're going to fine you. And maybe that's not the ASX's role, but they don't even say, hey, we're referring this to the ASIC, the ASIC, the securities regulator. And there have been cases, about half a dozen I could see quickly with Googling, about companies which have been fined by ASIC for breaches of continuous disclosure. But it seems like ASIC quite possibly has to set a very high bar. They tend to be very extreme examples that get fined, one of which I hasten to add was by the ASX itself. The company that runs the share market was taken to court for a disclosure issue or a transparency issue. So, I've long thought that there needs to be something else done here. When Steve sent through the email, my immediate thought was setting up some rules. If your share price moves by a certain amount on results day and you're outside the guidance by a particular percent, then, it's a sliding scale fine. It's 50 grand for the first one, or 50 grand per 1% deviation or something like that, just to try and prod these companies to disclose earlier. As we've said, it's in their own best interest to disclose early, because it's likely to be, if they know it's going to be a hit to the share price, the sooner you can get it out there, it's quite possibly going to be better for them. They'll still get a hit to the share price, but they have time to, take action and do things.
You say 50 grand, I say 5 years.
Or what, the directors?
Yeah, 5 years.
Then you don't get any directors. I'll resign from the CIW board on that basis.
No, we'll get other directors. If you don't give guidance, if you just do your job, just people who will do the job is who will do it. Pay me $500,000 a year and I'll do my job. All we're asking them to do is give us advance warning if the results aren't going to be what they said they were going to be. That's all. It's not rocket science here. And if you don't do it, you go to jail. 5 years. Boom. Like politicians lying. If you make a campaign promise, then you get elected and you don't deliver on it, automatic 5 years in jail. What gets measured, Tony? Goodhart's law.
And then that's why I agree. I don't think jail terms is the right solution. I think company fines is, wouldn't you? For a start,
company fines is nothing. It's a slap on the wrist. You just make sure the profit is bigger than the fine, right? We know company fines don't work. Jail time, hard time too. Not a fancy CEO jail. I'm talking about Bogger Road, H Division, Chopper Reed is your cellmate. That kind of jail time.
Well, what are you in H Division for? Armed holdup. What are you in? Well, kind of the same thing, but it was breach of continuous disclosure laws.
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but the OML response to the ASX letter was signed by their company secretary, her name was Melissa Jones. That was on the 2nd of September. On the 3rd of September, Melissa Jones resigned as company secretary, effective immediately. Yeah. Their announcement says, "OO would like to thank Melissa for her valuable contribution as company secretary."
No, could be coincident. I don't know. What are you implying?
I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying that she wrote this long signed this long justification letter and then resigned the next day and left him effective immediately.
I'd suspect go on.
Just saying, it's maybe that was it. Maybe she was like, I can't do this anymore. Maybe it was possibly like throw her under the bus. I don't know.
I wouldn't think that was the case. But I don't know the circumstances, but I mean, I think she may have signed the letter, but I think it would have been prepared by the company lawyers.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's what it's
As
coming down to. I think that's what the problem ASIC is having. Even if you had 5-year jail terms for directors, you'd be held up in court for at least that time while lawyers argued about what continuous disclosure meant, what is a reasonable who is a reasonable person, what are they expected to do,
no,
et cetera, et cetera. You've got to have rules around it.
yeah, no lawfare allowed. That's part of the conditions.
No
Yeah.
law.
No appeals. No appeals. Just immediate jail time. Just off you go. It's like
Okay.
ICE. Like ICE turns up, but it's like you're a worker at a Hyundai plant. ICE works up. ICE rocks up. You're in the van.
Mhm.
You're in the van. Next thing you know it, you're in, I don't know, Nicaragua or wherever they're sending them, wherever the black sites are, CIA black sites for jails. Yeah.
Is there a black site? I thought they were just like getting to Texas and unloading the dump truck.
Throwing them into, what is it? Alligator Heaven? What's the name of the jail?
Alligator Alley.
Something.
Mm.
Yeah, no.
Anyway.
Well, you throw them black sites in Syria like the CIA was doing during the Bush years. Well, anyway, yes. So ASIC are writing letters, and we'll see if they do anything else apart from just
No,
waggle
ASX
a
is
finger.
writing letters. The corporate lawyers are replying, and that's where it ends. Some of these will get picked up as class actions.
Yeah, right.
I think I'd be surprised if James Hardie, which is one of the examples Steve gave, isn't in the crosshairs at the moment by class action lawyers, but probably not for continuous disclosure. I mean, anyone wants to Google James Hardie in the last few months will find articles about their acquisition of an American company. What was it called? AZEC, I think it's called. So James Hardie are a building construction company. They operate mainly in the US, but they have a legacy of being an Australian company. They produce plasterboard, which contained asbestos back in up until about the mid-'80s, I think. Yeah. And so they've had this liability. I mean, that was the first time that was actually when directors were prosecuted personally. The James Hardie board did face personal prosecution, which is very rare under the corporations law. And the upshot of all of that was that directors were fined and barred, and James Hardie was told to set up a fund, which I think has a liability of about, I'm going to say $1.5 billion, that kind of order of magnitude, which they're meant to pay out of free cash flow going forward until all the victims of the asbestosis are compensated, including those which come forward in the future. So it's had its problems. It has had some success in moving to the US for its operations, and it's done well there. But Trump's tariffs seem to have killed the renovation business in the US. One of the issues over there, of course, is their mortgages are different to what they are here, and they're fixed over a long period of time, say 30 years. And if you locked in a long-term mortgage in COVID when interest rates were 2%, you're not about to move house now and face changing your mortgage to 6% or 7%. You'll stay where you are, which means that people aren't moving, and therefore there's not as much renovation going on and building going on. And so James Hardie is in the doldrums at the moment. So it's looking for growth. It acquired this US company. The issue at hand was that they applied to the ASX to get a waiver to avoid a James Hardie shareholder vote on a takeover of the US company, which involved the issuing of something like 35% of new shares in the company, in James Hardie, to acquire this US company. And all the Australian shareholders went, whoa, what do you mean you're going to take this company over, issue 35% more shares and not ask us to vote on it? Because there are rules around how many shares you can issue without going to a shareholder vote. It's normally around 10% per annum. And the ASX gave them a waiver, which caused all kinds of ructions in the funds management issue, all kinds of backlash against the ASX and James Hardie, who then came out and said they were going to move their listing from Australia to the US. So their primary listing will be in the US. There has been some grumblings that may cause problems for the asbestos liability being enforced, but that's hasn't come out. The company hasn't come out and said that they're not going to do that. But who knows? The people who are looking at the asbestos liability are a bit worried about its continuing funding. And it's being funded out of free cash flow, and they're having a bad time on the profit line. So funding may go down going forward too. So there's a whole raft of issues around James Hardie, and my gut feel is the least of which will be continuous disclosure, if it even survives as an ASX-listed company in Australia.
JHC.
JHX.
Really?
I think so.
Oh yeah, JHX. You're right. Sorry,
Yeah.
JHX. What else you got to talk about, TK?
We've had some good results. I'm just going to, including our old friend NWH. So let's call that one up. So NWH, which is I think the code for NRW, which is a company providing contracting services to the mining industry. The headline reads, NRW shares pop on deal that ticks all 2025 boxes. WA-based contractor NRW Holdings is an ASX 200 staple. It makes most of its money building and maintaining mine site and civil infrastructure, riding the ups and downs on the mining cycle, and its customers include Rio Tinto and BHP. The article goes on to talk about it's faced almost continuous opposition to its REM report, but doesn't seem to matter because the stock is up 77% since US President Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariff announcements in April, and it bumped along by its FY25 result and on Tuesday by its biggest acquisition yet. So NRW are buying electrical and tech contractor called Freedon, Fredon, a Sydney-based business that they've written up, this is the AFR I'm talking about, I'm reading from an AFR article, a Sydney-based business that we've written up as an IPO contender just about every year for the past 5 years for up to $200 million. So, yeah, NRW doing well. It's been on the buy list before, going strong, good results.
Been really good in my portfolios too.
Okay. Other good ones, Perseus Gold. So kind of called it out. They've been, going up because of the gold price increase, as most other gold miners are. They are a West African gold miner, so we do know about sovereign risk, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Profit after tax increased by 16%, and the gold price was up 26%, and revenue rose kind of in line with that, up 22%. Costs have risen a little bit. They rose 17%, so what's called the all-in sustainable cost, which is a way of keeping costs equally measured across gold companies. That was up 17%. What else? Cash flow jumped by 25%, et cetera, et cetera. So a good result. The reason why I'm highlighting it is that Stock Doctor have recently made it a star stock, and I think a star income stock too. So it gets an extra tick on our checklist because of that. Very
good.
The last one to talk about is IGL. It's the code, IVE Group, IVE Group. And they also have become a star growth and star income stock. And Stock Doctor put them in following their latest results. So IVE is Australia's largest integrated print and marketing services company, serving major retailers such as Coles, Woolworths and Wesfarmers. So since acquiring Ovato's assets in 2022, a sort of competitor printing company, it has cemented its market leadership, expanded customer relationships and achieved meaningful cost synergies. So what else can I say? Dividend was up, yield of 6.3%, 9% grossed up, off a fairly low payout ratio of 54%. Although I think it's gone ex-dividend today, so it might be a little bit late if anyone wants to go out and buy a high-yielding star stock. You're a bit late, probably. They have invested in warehouse improvements, so they've invested in a large warehouse in Dandenong and in a place called Kemps Creek in Sydney. And both of those are expected to add significantly to capacity and efficiency. Revenue did dip slightly between 25 and 24, and ROE strong at 24%. So, number of issues there. I think the feeling is the print market is relatively in decline. Newspapers obviously is an example of that. Magazines are an example of that. But this company seems to have successfully branched out into producing labels on packaged goods and boxes and printing cartons, etc. So that's going well for it.
Good.
So that's that one. And yeah, I think that's all I've got on the earnings income round. Couple of things when I was going through doing my download this week, I just did pay attention to if people are using their own spreadsheets or the one that I issued, probably anyone. I think you might update these in yours, but just to reiterate, the cash rate is now 3.6%, and I use the RBA's website for the average mortgage rate, which is 5.73% now. So just make sure you're up to date with those two changes which have happened in the last couple of weeks.
I updated mine last night. Funny you should mention that.
Ah, there you go.
Try and do it at the beginning of the month, but I was a bit late. I got a couple of things. I just wanted to mention that Karoon Energy's not been having a good run. It's getting close to a Rule 1 sell for me, but I just wanted to make everyone aware, if they are looking at if you hold it, that it is ex-div, went ex-div about a week ago. So just keep an eye on that. But the share price has dropped quite a bit to reflect that in the last week or so. Dropped from $1.90 down to $1.62. And oil is a Josephine as well, which isn't helping. But just keep an eye on that. It's a zero franked dividend of 2.4 cents too, so it's not going to change your sell prices a great deal. I bought it back in June, around $1.97 one parcel and $2.07 for another parcel. Now it's $1.65, so it's dropped quite a bit. The 3-point sell line's $1.43 though. It's got a while before it hits that, but my Rule 1's getting close. I also wanted to mention Paul said that Cash Converters CFO resigned after just 2 years in the job to, quote unquote, pursue other professional opportunities. I went and had a look at the announcement, and there wasn't much in the announcement either. Jonty Gibbs has tendered his resignation to pursue new professional opportunities. That's it, pretty much. No best of luck. Oh, no, sorry, Managing Director. We extend our sincere thanks to Jonty for his dedication, but nothing about serving out a term, just the company has commenced a formal executive recruitment process. Doesn't say when he's leaving. Red flag, do you think, Tony?
Yeah, look, I couldn't find much information on this one. It was a hard one because my gut says he's been poached. So he's potentially a good CFO who's now taking up a role for another company. So I looked at the share price, which has been doing okay. So there's no sort of immediate need to act, I don't think. But I'd be monitoring this one to see where he pops up next. And if it's with a bigger company, then I'd say he's just been headhunted.
It is down 10%.
If he doesn't pop up anywhere, then it's probably a red flag, I would think.
Right. So what do we do for CCV?
Well, I think we just have to keep
see.
applying the rules and wait and see. Yeah. It's a messy one.
It is on the buy list, quite high on the buy list too this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the top 10.
Yep. So I would hold off buying it. I mean, we'll probably
would.
Anyway if it's down 10%. It's a Josephine, but I would have thought. But yeah, I would. Until there's some clarity, I'd like to know more about where he's going to, what his reason for leaving was, which will hopefully come out. It's always hard on small companies. It's usually easier for a bigger company. But if he's being poached by another ASX company, we should get a announcement on that as well.
It's not a Josephine. In fact, the Breadolator looks stunning. It's like going vertical since April, the share price. Previous month close was 34 cents, currently at 35 cents, but it was as high as 38 cents last week, which is why I said it's down 10%. But yeah, anyway, I'll make a note in my buy list for next week to put a flag on it.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry I can't be more definitive because all my searching didn't come up with any more information than just that release from Cash Converter saying he's leaving and we're going to do a search to hire someone to replace him.
Isn't that
Which
unusual
suggests
in
it was
your
unplanned.
experience? Yeah, but still, you would say normally a senior executive C-suite position like that, if you get headhunted and poached, you're going to have a serve-out period, right? You're going to
Yeah.
serve the next 90 days, 30 days, whatever it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
To just not make any mention in the release about when he is effectively leaving the building is weird.
It is.
Okay.
Again, welcome to corporate governance land in small cap ASX world.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, for a start, the news came out and I don't know. If the share price is down 10%, I would have thought at least the ASX should be writing to them saying, can you give us more information? I suspect it's not covered by many analysts, but they'd be asking questions too. So it's a hard one to understand what's going on, but it's borderline for me.
Yeah. All right. I've added it to my red flag notes for next week.
I know the next question will be, when do we take it off? And I don't have a definitive answer for that either.
And they're one of our favourite stocks too, CCV. We love the CCV. Yeah. Good little business.
Should be doing well given cost of living issues. So it's that kind of business, really.
Yeah. I had to take Fox in there recently and pawn him for a while just so I could pay the rent. They wouldn't take him. They were like, no, he's defective. Send him back. He spent 5 minutes in there, trashed the joint. No, like, get him out of here.
He should have taken his fancy Pokemon card in.
Yeah, sold that. That's right. He had another conversation. He was saying to me, I took him down the park the other day. He goes, instead of, we have the Bank of Daddy thing that he has money in. Instead of investing in the Bank of Daddy, I think I'm going to invest in Pokemon cards. I said, you can't use those words in the same sentence. I'm sorry, you can't. He goes, no, some people. I go, no. And I pulled out GPT and I said, Fox thinks in Pokemon cards are actually an investment. What do you think? It was like, listen, once in a blue moon, somebody is able to buy something and sell it at a profit, but 99% of the time that doesn't work out. It's really just a hobby. Feel free collecting Pokemon cards, but don't think of it as an investment. And he's like, what does ChatGPT know? Do you want me to do the questions?
Dad
know? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I say, talk to your brothers. Like, your brothers wasted a fortune on Pokemon cards when they were your age too, and now both of them will tell you it was absolutely stupid and a big waste of money. But okay, couple of questions. Paul again. What about Finbar, apartment builder, or Noble Oak life insurance for a pulled pork this week? Finbar has been in and out for a few months, and Noble Oak is new. Both interesting and pretty different companies, I reckon. FRI and NOL are those two stocks. Have you picked one of those
I'll do
for today?
I have. I picked Finbar based on Paul's request. And it's been on my mind to do it for a while. It's not a large ADT stock, so I try and do bigger ones, but it's been very high on the buy list for a while now. And I also thought I'd put some gaps between Fleetwood, which is another builder, on the buy list, which I did, I think, back in June. So it's probably enough break now to do another builder. This Finbar's a builder of apartments in Perth.
And they're number one on our buy list this week too. Quality score 100%, QAV score 0.83, average daily trade 81,000. So they're small, but yeah, they're right up there.
I thought I did a download today and Pepper Money was number one. Finbar was number two.
I've got them the
Anyway.
other way around, but I did mine
Yeah,
on
it doesn't
Friday,
matter.
so or
And
Saturday.
go Pepper. Have you looked at Pepper's share price?
It's $2.25. Is that good?
Yeah, I'll have a look at their graph. It's like asymptotic almost. It's going up
I bought them
dramatically.
in May for the dummy portfolio and a light portfolio at the beginning of May at $1.64. So they're up 34% since May. That is very good. Yeah.
It's terrific, isn't it? Very steep,
Good,
very steep graph.
good job, Pepper Money.
Yeah, top of the
well,
buy list, did a good job.
The only other question we have this week is from Jordan. Hi, Cam. Hi, Jordan. I was looking at the annual report for AIS this weekend. So was I. Funnily that, and noticed that in the auditor's report, it included a key audit matter, basis of preparation of financial report going concern. Nowhere in the audit report does it say there is a material uncertainty. So I think the audit was okay, but I haven't ever seen this included in the audit report's key audit matter section. So I was wondering if it was a close call. Can you ask Tony what he thinks of it? AIS was one of the ones I was using as I was writing my code, only because it's an A.
Okay.
It was one of the first ones on my list that was an A that I could work with. I haven't got it open in front of me, though, but I can pull up its annual report off my hard drive. What do you think? Did you have a look at this one, Tony?
I did.
Well, no,
and
I'll pull the report
I
up.
can't see anything wrong with it myself, so I'm not sure whether I think it has had a qualified audit in the past. I'm not sure whether is it Paul who's looking at the prior annual report, but there's one that's been released in the last few weeks or last few days, which looks clean.
Yeah, it was on our previous one back from the last time Alex or I looked at it. This one does look, clean. They talk about some key audit matters, but they're not flagging anything as being a problem. What did I say in my buy list? That's what I want to know.
I think you took it off the list, the qualified audits in the buy list this week.
QAV audit scan AIS is.
I have it back on the buy list based on it not having a qualified audit anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. AIS unmodified. Yes, unmodified. I've got it down as.
Right.
Confidence rating of 0.75 according to my script. That's its confidence in its whatever. Also, the other good thing about my script, I don't know if you looked at my little sheet, but it lists the name. It lists the name of the auditor, what page of the report the audit is on, and then it grabs the text and puts the text that mentions the audit status and puts that in the spreadsheet, just in case, you want to have a quick read of it without opening the report.
No, well done.
Sexy, very sexy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
sexy
yes, AIS.
Sexy. Auditing is sexy again.
Yeah, I'm making auditing sexy again. But yes, so we think it's okay now, Jordan. And that was one of the reasons I had to write the script, is because this new list of reports, I mean, we just got through reporting season. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the reports were outdated, and I didn't want to have to go through and check all 200 of them. So I had another crack at it. So anyway, AIS got a clean bill of health. Good spotting, Jordan. And by the way, if anyone has discovers any companies where my audit is wrong, please let me know. I did go and spot checked a dozen of them after I did the final version of the script. It all seemed to be good, but that's not to say it's perfect. So I will no doubt have to tweak some of the terminology searching aspects of it from time to time. So, but if you find anything that's awry, let me know.
Yeah, and I checked this one as well. When the question came, I looked at the annual report myself, so it seems fine to me.
Yeah.
In fact, I think even I haven't got it in front of me, I think it even says in the very start of the report, the auditors have said that they've reviewed the audit, they reviewed the numbers and it's an unqualified audit, something like that.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right, Tony, do you want to talk Finbar? Do you want to Finbar us?
Finbar U. Okay.
Mm.
Yes, thank you. Interesting company. Uh, it's, as I said, well, I have it number 2. You have it number 1 on the buy list. ADT of 86,000. So it probably is time to do Finbar. It's a property development company, and they lie in WA and almost exclusively in Perth in the metropolitan area. They did do, I think, one development of an apartment building in Karratha that I could see, but otherwise it's always Perth. They say on their website they are the leading apartment developer in WA, dedicating decades to developing better lifestyles with over 79 landmark WA apartment developments delivered to date. Finbar continues to define the skyline in one of the most livable cities in the world. 7,407 apartments built over the last 30 years, 100% project delivery success rate, and 30 consecutive years of profit. They go on to say that they have a stable Finbar team with average staff tenure of 9+ years and 15+ years for the executive team, supporting consistency in project delivery, client relationships, and corporate strategy. They certainly have been consistent, I'll say that when we go through it. The company's core business lies in development of medium to high density residential apartments and ancillary commercial property. Through maintaining deep stakeholder engagement, including with Finbar's relationship builder Hanson Proprietary Limited and a core group of consultants, contractors and suppliers, Finbar has created a key competitive advantage in an operational environment that continues to see wider construction capacity constraints, acting as a barrier to new entrants and subdued competitor activity. And I'd want to highlight, this can't be overemphasised enough, they've contained themselves pretty much to Perth, and you can see why when you look at the stats. So in 23-24, which were the most recent stats I found about immigration at a city level, Perth's population increased by 81,300, and 60,000 odd of those were from overseas migration. So that the stats did say that Perth had the biggest increase, I guess, per capita from immigration out of the Australian capital city. So there's certainly a lot of tailwinds for apartments being needed in Perth. This company began in 1995 when it listed on the ASX as a company called the Property Development Company. And it was operated out of a 2-bedroom apartment, and they commenced their first development as a property development company in Seville on the Point, which was their first apartment building located in South Perth. They've continuously grown from there. Along the way, they did branch out of Perth to Karratha in 2010, but that's the only deviation I could see. They've rode the resource boom in Perth, including building Perth's tallest apartment building in 2017. At that stage, it was called Concerto. And then again in 2024, building Perth's tallest apartment building called Civic Heart. They've had many milestones over the years. They completed their first 100 apartments in 2005, 200 apartments in 2009, 3,000 in 2012, 5,000 in 2017, 6,000 in 2019, and 7,000 in 2024, and have won many industry awards along the way for good building practices and excellence in the building industry. Their results were pretty good, and that has kicked the share price up since the results were released. And they announced that underlying NPAT was up 16%, revenue was up 46%, and they reduced debt by $360 million down to $56 million. They've announced a 5-year development pipeline in excess of $1 billion in estimated end value, and they've announced a positive outlook supported through chronic housing undersupply in Perth, an improving interest rate environment, and continued elevated levels of Perth migration. A couple of other things that were of note in the results announcements: the average daily sales, which was for the period January to mid-August 2025, were 0.99 units per day, which was 27% higher than 2024. And since that time, so since the 1st of June, sales have accelerated to just under 2 units per day, which is more than twice the average of the last 12 months. And not only are they selling twice as many per day, but they are receiving a higher average price per unit sold. So the average for year to date is $970,000, which is 28% up on the 5-year average for selling apartments in Perth. The latest project, Riverbank Residences, helped Finbar achieve a 30-year record sales month in August with 150 lots sold across the group's portfolio. So a lot of records are being smashed by the company. And the last one it's the first time in 10 years that Finbar has sold out an entire Perth apartment project off the plans. In other words, before construction began. So they're really doing well, executing properly, and seem to have good relationships for the building side of things. They are delivering on time when, as we know from prior analysis, there are a lot of building companies going into administration in Australia, but not this one. If I go through the QAV numbers, Stock Doctor has the most recent results loaded, so we can use those. The stock price I'm using is just under 79 cents, 78.8 cents. IV1 is 27 cents and no IV2 because there's no consensus forecast. Net tangible assets for this company and net equity per share are both 92 cents, and the current share price is just under 79. So we can buy this for less than book value, which is good. The yield is 2.54%, so we can't score it for yield, but it is paying a dividend, sorry. Stock Doctor financial health is strong and steady, which is good. Stockopedia have a quality ranking of 87, which is good, and an F score of 6 out of 9, which is also good. They have a value ranking of 91, but overall 74. And I think that's due to their momentum ranking, which they've ranked down. But certainly on a value ranking and a quality ranking, the score is good in Stockopedia. PropCap is only 1.19 times, so you're able to buy this and get your money back in a little over a year from cash flow, which is really good. We don't have growth forecasts, so I can't score it for growth over PE. Directors hold 56% of stock. So basically there are two shareholder groupings. A company called Chuan Hup Holdings, which is a Singapore listed investment company. They hold quite a bit of stock. They hold 25.6% of the stock, and Mr. Terence Pei, PEH, is the Chief Executive Officer of Chuan Hup Holdings, and he's on the board. And he's been there for a long time, since 2018. But the founder, one of the founders, John Chan, is the chair still. He holds 12%, joined the board back in 2010. And his son, Ron Chan, is now the CEO and holds 9%. So they have 21% between them. The stock is a recent 3-point trend line upturn, so we can score it for that. Doesn't have consistently increasing equity, which is not really a surprise given that property developers tend to be fairly lumpy in their cash flow. So overall, I'm giving this a quality score of 11 out of 13 or 85% and a QAV score of 0.71. So I'm very high up on the buy list. I think the tailwinds for this company are quite strong. And I did notice that there was buying by management and the board this year, which is a good sign. But certainly the tailwinds for the company are the strong underlying Perth migration, chronic housing undersupply. And to give you an example of that, REI WA listing, so that's the Real Estate Institute of WA, over 50% lower now than they were over the last 5-year average. So not many apartments being listed. Interest rates are going down, which is loosening lowering mortgage rates and loosening people's ability to buy things like apartments. There's a couple of government policies helping people buy apartment buildings, off the plan stamp duty concessions, first home buyer support. There's a thing called the Infrastructure Development Fund, which is helping. There's a thing called Key Start, which I think might be a WA project or program. But certainly a lot of people are being helped to get into the apartment market, which is supporting sales for this company. I guess on the risk side, it's a property developer, so if it does lose some of the relationships they have, then there's certainly a lot of tightness in the labour market for construction in the property sector that may affect them. And property developers have risks if interest rates turn up. We certainly see lots of insolvencies across the eastern seaboard for developers. They have lumpy development financials, so it hasn't always been, the share price hasn't always been going up in a straight line. And if Perth comes off the boil for whatever reason, either a downturn in the mining company, mining resource sector, or for whatever other reason, the apartment market may face a downturn over there, and then the company will have to start looking elsewhere to build apartments, which is a risk, I think, if that ever happens. But today, they're doing well.
Forgot to unmute my mic while I had the fan on. Thank you, Tony. Finbar.
And thanks for the request for the pulled pork.
Yeah, good.
You're always welcome. Yeah.
All right. After hours, Tony, what have you got?
Yeah, a few things. I guess the most topical one would be Alien Earth. I don't know if you've caught up on that one at all.
I thought you were going to tell people about your skin cancer operation and how they should go get any, spots checked.
I can. I had skin cancer on my face and my arm cut out last Friday, and it was a bit more than I thought. So, yeah. I don't know if it's because I've moved back from Canada when I wasn't having any skin cancers, but in the last couple of years I've had quite a few cut out, and it seems like the process is getting deeper into my skin. I don't want to go into the gory details of it, but I've got a few stitches in my face and my arm because of last Friday's surgery. It's fine. I'm up and about, no problems. It's local anaesthetics and all that, but I can't exercise this week. I'll get the stitches out on Friday. So it was a bit more of an impediment than it had been in the past, when generally in the past it was either a burn off with liquid nitrogen, or they, do a fairly tight, almost keyhole type incision and get the offending BCC or whatever out. But no, they've gone in deep this time. So, hasn't been all that fun. And I'm a little bit conscious of this big scar on my face at the moment, but hopefully it heals fine.
No, you don't want it to heal fine. You want it to have a big manly scar, and you come up with a good story for it then too. Attacked by a shark, rhino.
That's what Ruddy said. He's fighting me on the golf course.
No, I said a good story. Fighting Ruddy's not a good story,
Okay. Well, being beaten up by Ruddy's not a good story. It's like no one would believe that, would they?
No, exactly. No one's going to believe that. Look at Ruddy, he'd fall down. Give him a harsh look. Yeah. Okay, Alien Earth. Yeah, I haven't waded into those waters yet because the whole Alien franchise is just not a good place, but it's a bit like Terminator films. Best days are well and truly behind them.
Well, I think they're back. I think...
really? Oh.
Yeah. Alien Earth, I think. The good part about Alien Earth is it doesn't really necessarily focus on the alien. I mean, it's part of it, but it's a lot more about what the Earth looks like in the future when the... one of the companies. So the Earth is run by 5 companies. And they compete against each other. Obviously, a bit of an allegory for how things sit with the 7 at the moment. And one of the companies brings the alien embryo back to Earth, and one of the crew members on the ship is paid for by one of the competing companies to try and sabotage that. And they do. They meant to land the spaceship in the whatever city Company B, the Wayland Corporation, or Wayland, I think it is.
Wayland
operates
Yutani?
Wayland Yutani.
Tyrell is Blade Runner.
Is Blade Runner, yeah. So Wayland Yutani, I've forgotten all the names. There's 5 different company names in this. Anyway, the ship crash lands into an apartment building, and of course the embryos escape. It's the the interesting thing is it's not just about the alien creature. There are other creatures brought back. So there's a few other bugs to watch out for. But that's probably only about 20% of the series. The rest of it's about synthetic humans and cyborgs and the control of the companies and what that all means and how they compete. So I found it fascinating from that point of view.
Where does it
So
fit
well done,
in
science fiction.
Where does it fit in the timeline?
I've got no idea. Well, it would be, yeah, don't know.
Obviously,
Haven't looked
post the 79 film.
Original. Yeah. Yeah, and probably post Aliens 2 as well, because that, was also about the corporation trying to bring a bioweapon back to Earth. So I suspect it's since then.
Yeah. All right. It's on what? Disney? Max?
Disney or Apple, I'm not sure. One of those two.
I think it's on one of the ones I've got. I don't have Apple, so it must be one of the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. What else? Oh, been going through SBS still, loving all the old movies they've now got access to.
Mm-hmm.
And have you seen Le Bout de Souffle, Jean-Luc Godard's revolutionary film, Breathless?
No, but I was watching his what's his big one? The
Breathless, Le Bout de Souffle.
Oh, that's what it's. I've never heard that other name for it. Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's Breathless. Yeah, I was watching it. I haven't seen it since the early 90s when I was in my early 20s and got into started getting into classic French film. Yeah, no, I was watching it the other night. I didn't finish it, but I'm like halfway, 2/3 of the way through it. Loving it, absolutely loving it.
Just how revolutionary it is. I mean, it's the story, the way it's shot. Seeing a young Jean-Paul Belmondo is fantastic because most of my memories of him is like 20 years later.
Yeah,
when he's a staple of French cinema in the 70s. Yeah.
Just the thing that I remembered, the only thing really I remembered of it from when I first saw it in my early 20s was just that staccato editing, the really choppy editing of bam, bam, and it's moving really quickly and the scenes are all over the place. It's really frenetic, fast-paced editing, which didn't seem as crazy this time watching it as I remember feeling about it in my early 20s, but still obviously there and very fresh.
Yeah, and I remember going back and watching it when the remake with Richard Gere and Pia Zadora came out in the US, which was good. And the movie called Badlands, which I think I read a review. I saw and loved Badlands.
Martin Sheen.
Terrence Malick's early ones, yep, and Sissy Spacek.
Sissy Spacek, yeah.
And I remember after I saw that, a review of that referred me to Le Bout de Souffle, saying similar sort of theme of, young man, amoral, going off the rails, committing a crime, going on the run. And yeah, so I went and watched Breathless back then, and I'm really enjoying it this time around. I don't remember much of it from the first scene, but it must have been so shocking in 59 or 60 when it came out to see this kind of, amoral man killing a cop, going on the run with a car, hot wiring a car, coming back to Paris to get his girlfriend, finding her with someone else, just this kind of wild ride, stealing money from other girls.
Yeah.
Wild. It must have been so shocking to cinema goers who would have been used to Singing in the Rain and Sound of Music and all that kind of stuff.
They'd had Jimmy Cagney and the original Scarface film and Bogart films. I mean, criminals on screen, Al Capone and those sorts of things weren't new, but I think
the way of portraying them, though.
Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of like a Tarantino-esque, which is why Tarantino names his production company A Band Apart after another one of his films.
Okay.
Tarantino's a big fan, right? But so they're cool. He's the cool criminal. Looks
and
cool, acts cool. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Continuously chain smoking unfiltered cigarettes.
Yeah.
Very
good looking. Good looking. Wears a suit like a model, and just he's like a young, I don't know, Clooney, Brad Pitt sort of something, swanning about, pretty girls. Just Oh, good. Yeah. I stumbled across that. So I'm halfway through watching Megalopolis.
Oh, really? Where's that available?
Well, it's on Mubi. but I don't have
Oh,
Mubi, and so
right.
Hunter gave me like an illegal streaming site. So that's
Oh,
where
okay.
he watches stuff that's not available on the other streaming sites. So I'm about 45 minutes into the three
Hmm.
and a half hours or whatever that is. You watched it, right? I think you saw it.
No,
Oh, you
Alex
haven't
saw it.
seen it. I know Alex
No,
saw it and didn't
Alex.
mind it.
Yeah.
She
She laughed.
said she laughed.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I'm enjoying it, but it's definitely weird. But because it's basically a somewhat retelling of 60 BCE in Rome, the main characters, Giancarlo Esposito plays Cicero, Adam
Okay.
Driver plays Caesar Catalina, which is a combination of Caesar and Catiline, the Catilinarian conspiracy for those people that know their Roman history. Um, so there's, it's a bit of telling of this power struggle in Rome, although it's very, very loose reference to that. It's set in like the new Rome of Manhattan and John Voight, Aubrey Plaza. Um, who's the young guy who was in the Indiana Jones film as Indy's son? Can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah, I've forgotten too. Is it Tom Holland? Was that he? I'm not sure.
No, 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 no. It's Shia LaBeouf.
Chalamet? Oh, LaBeouf. Okay.
Yeah, Larry
Going back a bit.
Fishburne's in
Yeah.
it. Larry Fishburne sort of does the narration of it too. Jason Schwartzman, huge cast. And yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying the actors and like the characters are kind of crazy, but it's also there's this like really, I'm assuming deliberately bad blue screens and green screens in it. Like it's got a very fake feel to the blue screens, and the backdrops are all a little bit um 30s art deco-y style kind of thing to it. It's arty, it's Coppola trying to be arty, telling a political futuristic-y drama kind of thing. Anyway, so I'm about nearly an hour into a third of the way through it, and I'm not hating it, but I can see why people would struggle with it because it's over the top and weird.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've seen a couple of clips on Facebook Reels, and I'm not a fan of Adam Driver, and he looks like he's got a funny Roman haircut in it. And yeah, I'm not sure I'll watch it.
Driver's just doing Adam Driver, like he's brooding
Yeah.
all the way through it so far.
Yeah. Wouldn't. I'm not a
Yeah,
fan. So
wow, brooding. You
anyway.
say wouldn't?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's all I've got. I've
Un-
just been,
une- Unexpressive, which is a bad trait for an actor.
okay.
Anyway,
Um, apart from that, I've just been obsessed with Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony again this week. Just
I listened to it based on your request. I thought it was okay. Not didn't.
okay.
No, I thought it was good, but I gave it one listen. I thought, okay, that's all right. I was surprised because I think prior listening to Shostakovich was fairly atonal, and this was very almost commercial. I thought it was very poppy, had a very strong melody.
Yeah, well, look, a lot of his early stuff when he was in his early 20s was not atonal, but very experimental.
Right.
His symphonies are less so, and his string quartets and his piano concertos, a lot of, I mean, experimental, but following the traditional structure of a Beethoven or a Mahler or something like that, but also takes it in a different direction. Like he was trying
Yeah. Right.
to do stuff with it, but yeah, like the opening motif for the first movement of the seventh, like dun 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 dun
Mm.
dun dun bum 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 bada bada
Jazz
bum.
hands, shall we? It sounded very Broadway to me, but I get it.
Broadway. Wow.
Mm.
Okay. But like the history of that, as I told you last week, like it was a big deal at the time because it was happening
Yeah.
during the attack on that, and it
Yeah.
was hugely popular around the West until the war was over. And then it basically got forgotten because we were in the Cold War and you weren't allowed to listen to Shostakovich, who was a Soviet composer still living in Leningrad, and supposedly being a good communist, even though after he died, everyone learned that he really did it through gritted teeth and that he hated the communists and he hated the Communist Party and Stalin and Khrushchev. And then all of a sudden it was acceptable in the West. But there is some great footage on YouTube of Lenny Bernstein going to Moscow in 1959 as part of a cultural exchange program where he plays the first movement of the Seventh, and Shostakovich is in the audience, and Lenny thanks him, and then Shostakovich looks really uncomfortable. He's like sitting halfway back in the audience, and somebody next to him's prodding him, and he gets up and he sort of does a wave, and then he sits back down, and they're still applauding. The audience is applauding, and eventually he's sort of forced to get up, and because he was very introverted, very shy. He walks up to the front and he shakes Bernstein's hand and shakes the first violinist's hand, and then gets back to his seat. But he's probably thinking, "Oh God, now they're gonna throw me in a gulag now for being too friendly with this gay Western, conductor." Like he was, Bernstein admired him when it was very unpopular to acknowledge Shostakovich in the West in those years of the Cold War.
Well, thank you for putting me onto him. It was good.
Listen to it 100 more times and then tell me what you think, Tony.
I might listen to it one more time.
No, it'll help your healing process.
Speaking of avant-garde composers, have you heard Philip Glass's Low? His take on David Bowie's record.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I got back into that this week, which was fantastic. Love it.
Well, did I tell you about my friend who did the Brian Eno course, the Brian Eno masterclass?
No.
One of Fox's friends' parents did like this Brian Eno masterclass course a few months ago. Like you get to spend, I don't know, like an hour or a couple of hours on a Sunday over a period of time with Eno, like a live chat room thing, where he teaches you how he does art, how he thinks about music, how he composes, and goes through the oblique strategies cards and his whole process. So this guy, and you get recordings of it all. So he just downloaded the whole thing into a directory for me, and he goes, "Here you go." He's got like 10 hours of masterclass with Brian Eno. Which I haven't even cracked open yet. I haven't even downloaded yet because, I was too busy coding audit scans and buyback scans. But I would love to think that I would have the time at some point to get into that, because I do love the stuff that Eno's. I just love Eno's, artistic contribution to rock music in the last 50 years, if nothing else. Right?
Yeah. Roxy Music and U2 and Bowie, yeah. And his own stuff.
Yeah.
Bring on the Warm Jets, fantastic album.
Yeah. Not to mention everyone else. I think the list of artists that he contributed to is long. But I know I'm probably not going to have time to do it because I don't have time to do shit.
Except Kung Fu.
Well, that goes without saying.
Skip a class and crack Eno open.
He knows not of what he speaks, my lord. Forgive him. Don't make me show you my abs again, Coniston. I'll show you why I do Kung Fu.
It's the last thing from my mind to make you show me your abs.
I've had to look at your scar. You look at my abs. That's the trade-off. All right. Well, I want to go talk about methanol, which is the pulled pork for the US show that we have to go do. So,
all right.
Let's go talk about methanol.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony. Have a good week. Thanks, everybody, for the questions and the suggestions.
Yep.
Have a good one.